Captain Midnight.
This video is brought to you by Brilliant. So I originally had no intention of making this one. I made a fairly negative video last week, and I usually try to balance those out with something a little more positive. But here's the thing, I decided to throw on the new Plusaversary short on Disney+. Just kinda curious to see what they do with Homer and the gang. And what I found was so bleak that it kinda put me in a bad mood. Disney Plus has produced a few Simpsons shorts, with the majority of them tying in heavily with Disney properties. And watching through them all, I'm gonna be honest, it made me want to cleanse my soul with a Season 4 DVD box set for the rest of the day. That may sound harsh, and it is. I can see a lot of people out there saying that I'm taking these shorts too seriously. I mean, after all, aren't they basically just tossed off ads? Well, that's what I want to talk about this week, how Disney is currently using The Simpsons, and how these shorts managed to take a pretty solid idea and turn them into some of the most shameless Simpsons stories I've ever seen.
Come back here, you!
It's The Simpsons from Mattel.
Don't have a cow, Homer.
So first off, I want to say that I think there's a big difference between a commercial and a short film. Obviously, The Simpsons have been used for marketing purposes for as long as they've existed, like Bart starring in a series of Butterfinger ads. I don't really have any big problem with that. When Disney creates like a TV commercial and puts The Simpsons in them, I'm pretty fine with that. It's a little depressing since the show used to be so good at brutally mocking Disney, but I don't think of it as a huge problem. I think a short segment or a short film is different though. The Simpsons itself grew out of a series of shorts made for the Tracy Ullman Show, and decades later even had an Oscar-nominated short film with The Longest Daycare, which played theatrically. Short films are a medium unto themselves, and one that I think The Simpsons is really capable of pulling off well. The Longest Daycare is a pretty solid example of that, I think. The 2012 short sees Maggie being dropped off at the Ayn Rand School for Tots from season 4 of the show, and having to survive a day of hell. While it may not be the best Simpsons ever, or up to the lofty standards of old Looney Tunes shorts, I think it is easily the best of these modern Simpsons shorts. I think some real work was put into this one visually. I like how it distorts the size of the characters, and especially spaces, to match Maggie's points of view. It's got a clear beginning, middle, and end, and some creative original gags. It is, for the most part, totally fine, which is just not something I can say for most of the other Simpsons shorts here. In general, the shorts that were made to play theatrically, like this one and Playdate with Destiny, which played in front of Onward, are fine. I actually think they're a fun and worthy experiment. And if stuff like this was the only Simpsons shorts being made, there would be no reason for me to make this video. It's the Disney Plus specific ones that really get under my skin. Starting with the first one ever made for the platform, The Force Awakens from its nap. Obviously, this is the Star Wars focused one. It's basically a sequel to The Longest Daycare, with Maggie refusing to go back to the Ayn Rand daycare and getting dropped off at a Star Wars themed one instead. And starting here, something becomes very clear. There is basically zero bite to any of the satire in the Disney Plus shorts. The Simpsons is obviously no stranger to satirizing things from pop culture. From superhero movies in its season 7 episode Radioactive Man, to Disneyland in season 6 Itchy and Scratchy Land, that episode especially had a great time mocking Disney, with its stand-in for Walt Disney himself even making Nazi propaganda films. You won't find anything a fraction as cutting or incisive in these shorts, as 90% of the jokes boil down to, hey, remember this thing from Star Wars? What if this thing from Star Wars was in The Simpsons? BB-8 shows up and is just BB-8? There's no joke, no satirizing of remakes or sequels here. It's just, hey, remember BB-8, the droid we all know and love? Well, here he is again. Really, the closest it comes to satirizing Star Wars at all is a short list of rules that says why Maggie can come back to life as a Force ghost with Yoda ears. Almost everything is just flattened out to the joke being, here's a thing you recognize, when The Simpsons can be so much better than that. But even though I really disliked this one, at least it was basically still functional, compared to the next one, The Good, the Bart, and the Loki, which I think is easily the laziest of all the shorts, at least in terms of the writing. This one sees Loki being banished from Asgard and falling to Springfield, where he has a short conversation with Bart before being welcomed to dinner. So far, I don't know, perfectly fine comedic premise, but then it just devolves into a series of gags that basically amount to, hey look, it's Lisa as Thor, Barney is Iron Man, Carl is Nick Fury, and Mo is Vision. The closest thing to a visual joke to be found here is Rainier Wolfcastle holding a sign that says, "This is what happens when Disney buys Marvel and Fox." And while I guess that's a perfectly true statement, it's not really a joke. It's a wink at the audience, sure, but there's no actual satirizing going on here. Then there's a few post-credit scenes. One of them is super lazy. It's just the Hulk and Loki joke from the Avengers, but with Ralph Wiggum. That's it. And then another one is basically just an ad for the Loki series. The sad thing is, I think some of this had potential. The concept of The Simpsons poking fun at the post-credit scenes and the function they serve in MCU movies is a pretty good one. But this doesn't have anything to say about that other than a stray line about sitting through mid-credit scenes. Then there's Plusaversary, the latest Simpsons short, and the one that tosses a bunch of Disney characters together into one giant IP soup, much like Ready Player One or Ralph Breaks the Internet. To celebrate the 1-year anniversary of Disney Plus, all the Disney characters host a party at Moe's, with Homer not being able to get in until he's Goofy's +1. There's a lot of little gags involving different Disney characters. The 7 dwarves are there, Doctor Strange is playing pool, and for the most part, just the sight of these characters is supposed to be enough to be funny. A comedic approach that all the Plus exclusive shorts seem to have in common, but I think by this third one, it's getting especially grating. There's nothing novel or funny about seeing Marvel characters in The Simpsons at this point. You already devoted a whole short to that premise. Eventually, Lisa Simpson comes in to sing a song about how great Disney Plus is. This image of Lisa holding up a smartphone that shows off all the various Disney streaming offerings, it's grim. It makes me wish The Simpsons had been allowed to go out with some dignity at least a decade ago. There's some jokes here and there about how like Mr. Burns owns Disney stock, but it's all very light. The whole thing kind of comes off like a video that management would show at a Disney corporate retreat to kind of prove they have a sense of humor about themselves. Which is about as far as you can get from the days when The Simpsons was controversial enough to actually be insulted by the President of the United States. Now, it's a safe and cozy Disney brand, interchangeable with Lady and the Tramp, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and anything else under their corporate umbrella. Maybe it is goofy that I let this bother me at all. The Simpsons has not been a show that's like at the cutting edge of TV for most of my lifetime. But something about these shorts just really cements that in a brutal way. When you look at classic Simpsons, there's a real anti-authority air to it. The principal of the school is a joke, the town's biggest employer is willing to dump toxic waste for a few extra bucks, the sheriff is a bumbling idiot, the mayor is comically corrupt, even the kid's favorite entertainer is a cynical asshole who has no respect for his audience and is willing to slap his name on just about anything. While it was always a show with a lot of heart too, there was a healthy cynicism to The Simpsons that always kept it from being saccharine. That feels totally gone in these shorts. Plusaversary ends with Bart, who is playing Mickey Mouse, coming into the bar and telling everyone to get back to work, in what basically amounts to a very safe, G-rated version of the same joke from South Park's Jonas Brothers episode. There's this really self-satisfied line in that scene too, where Sideshow Mel remarks that he can't believe they're getting away with this, as if the short is being so transgressive, and hasn't, mostly been Lisa singing about how great the streaming service you're using is. The fact that it's Bart as Mickey here, instead of the actual Mickey himself, probably tells you exactly how far Disney was willing to go with this very mild self-mockery. The jokes that The Simpsons used to be willing to make at Fox's expense were much more cutting than anything you'll find here. I love The Simpsons, and to Disney Plus's credit, they're now one of the few streaming services that let you watch an old show like this in its original aspect ratio. It took them a little bit to add that feature, but I'm glad they did. I think they deserve some credit for that. But these shorts are being severely held back by the fact that they all have to tie into various Disney brands. Where The Simpsons was once great at satirizing and mocking every aspect of American small-town life in the 90s, the characters now just feel like they're serving as corporate mascots for one of the biggest entertainment companies on Earth. I'd really be happy to watch more Simpsons shorts, but did they have to be this completely toothless? I'm really hoping that if Disney continues to make these, they at least change their approach. Because The Simpsons is a TV legend, and it just deserves better than this.
your commercial?
I don't know.
So with 2021 getting closer and closer to wrapping up, I really want to thank Brilliant for supporting the channel as much as they have this year. If you haven't checked them out, you really owe it to yourself. Brilliant is an interactive learning platform that lets you tackle new math, science, and computer science concepts in a fun, hands-on way. This month, I wanted to highlight their new logic course, which is part of an effort to turn up the interactivity on the platform even more. That's something they've always excelled at. Brilliant can give you the tools to tackle so many STEM topics. This isn't about memorizing formulas that you just repeat back on a piece of paper. Brilliant is structured around you learning by doing, at your own pace and on your own schedule, so it's never been easier to tackle these subjects head on. So to build on your knowledge, go to brilliant.org/midnight and try it for free. Also, the first 200 people to go to that link will get 20% off the annual premium subscription.
Here's a special tip for the fellas and girls who have not already joined Captain Midnight's new 1940 Flight Patrol. You'd better hurry up and join at once because there's a big adventure ahead. The thing to do now is to get started because we're going to have not only barrels of fun, but loads of free gifts and prizes too.